Hello friends, neighbors, John, your whiskey neighbor here, and welcome down the Nook. Still summer, still trying to clear my shelf, and I'd like to talk some more Scotch. This is another blended Scotch. So today, I'm going to talk to you about this Chivas Regal 12. I'm sure you've seen it on a shelf or seen it in a bar, but I'll share some thoughts on this blended Scotch when we come back.
3, 4.
Sorry for rushing the intro, and thanks for staying with me. As I was trying to say, I'm working through some Scotch with you guys, and I am trying to clear the shelf. So when you come across a bottle that's pretty low, I think it's time to clear. Chivas, obviously a massive producer of blended Scotch whiskey. Now it's blended, so we've got grain and malt. It is age stamped at 12, but only 40%, and no doubt it is colored and chill filtered, so it doesn't check really any of the hardcore whiskey fan boxes, but it's a reasonable value up here. And is it any good? So let's talk a bit. What do I know about the history? I think Strathala is the core of Chivas now, but you know what I'll do instead of sharing history, because I didn't really practice it or read through it in any depth. The Whiskey Crusaders, I recently started following those guys, and they're a lot of fun, and he really breaks down like hardcore history on this. So if you're interested in, hey, how did this blend get started, go check them out there. Let's talk whiskey. On the nose, blended Scotch, only 40%. It's surprisingly kind of light toffee, caramel, buttery, which is not always my first note in Scotch. And then, some malt, some grain notes, not overly sweet. There's a little bit of sugar grain notes, but I'm not getting a lot of fruit on the nose, on the palate. Sancha. It's very light. Coats a little bit, but it's not thick and oily, but it feels okay. Fruit is, again, a little indistinguishable, like maybe a little bit of dried fruits in there, but not much. Maybe a little bit of older orange in there if I'm really picking around. But it's really kind of grain malt forward. Sweet, but sweet more like honey than a specific fruit, and pretty light. Try another sip. Yeah, that moved a little bit into almost a white grape, which was interesting. So again, still that kind of fruit light fruit spirit, but it pulls back down in the grain right away. What I really find missing from this, although I mentioned in the nose you've got some vanillas and caramels, which is interesting. It doesn't really pop in the palate, and the finish is almost non-existent. It just kind of, what am I kind of remembering here? We don't bring back often. At the end, you kind of bring back some good oaks or some char. Like some of those longer lasting flavors for me are often pretty common in Scotch. But here, the finish is really the most disappointing of this blend. That said, this bottle actually went through pretty quick. Well, actually, that's not true. I opened it up. It was one of the only gifts I've had from a parent when I was still a principal of a school. So it sat for actually a really long time. But then when I thought, let's give Chivas its due, it went down pretty quickly. It was a very easy, when you just want to have a little Scotch, it's not that bad of a blend. Really, it's 3.25 stars maybe for me. It's not that great. And part of that, I have to say, value also plays around in my mind. And as a blended Scotch, it's good value, but it's not super good value. Like it often plays at around $45 in my market. And in that market, I can get Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, 12-year-old single malts, and I like both of those more than this blend. So because of that, even though it's good, it's not as fruity as something like Monkey Shoulder. Now you'll pay more for that. And it just doesn't really excite me. So just barely off 3, really, 3.25. as I like to do if I can, I want to shoot a little bit of a comparison. This is Dewar's 12. Actually, I got this as part of a gift set, the 12, 15, and 18. I'd like to walk through that with you. But I have reviewed this before, so I just cracked it open so I could compare it head to head here. Now, Dewar's, I think Aberfeldy is the core of their spirit. Really the same kind of thing, lots of different malts and grains in here, but it age stamped at 12 and 40%. It really is a direct competitor with Chivas. In my market, it's at least $10 cheaper. And this one, they talk about double age, so after they kind of marry their blend back in oak again, which is sort of their signature double aging. Let's see how it is. Now the bottle is a little fresher, but I've got stronger vanillas and a light edge of maraschino on the nose. Yeah, this plays a little more on the nose into sort of, as I think I said, light toffee or light caramel. Kind of interesting, but this nose is fresher. Bottle's fresher. Does that mean much? I don't know. A little brighter on the nose. On the palate, Sanja. I tend to like Dewar's. I think I've admitted that to you before, and I recently did the 8 years that are finished in those other barrels. I'm getting a little more malt characteristic for that. To me, that's a little more, kind of a little oatmeal, little more chewiness. However, I'm also getting a little more bitterness in the early finish. The Chivas was, in essence, I guess a little smoother. Try the Chivas again. Yeah, a little more caramel on the nose. I don't appreciate the flavor as much as Dewar's, but it's disappearing off the palate with a little less conversation than the Dewar's. And in this case, the Dewar's conversation is a little bit bitter. I don't recall that very much. So quick final nose on Dewar's. Little richer nose. And richer palate if that bitterness settles away. So this can get up to about 3.5. This is 3 1/4. Neither of them are going to change your mind about Scotch, but both tend to be reasonable, affordable, and they make good if you're looking for, Scotch and soda type of experience, a little bit refreshing. I think they both work very well in that setting. So thanks for joining me again for this kind of quick hitter on some Scotch blends. Hope you guys are having a great week.